and he had Myrtle calling every doctor in the book, trying to get a doctor there. And after a while, there were about 6 or 8 cars, doctors' cars, lined up. They came as soon as they got there, and she was gone by then. Yeah.
The doctor.
Yeah, it makes me
Crush.
kind of tear up a little bit to think about it. Yeah.
Well, okay. So here's what it says: Mrs. Miller, age 71, dies 1933 is
Yeah.
the year. Mrs. C.A. Miller, 71, died suddenly this noon at the home of her daughter, Mrs. Murray McMurray, 620 Webster Street. Death was caused by a stroke of apoplexy.
She was recovering from illness, and
Oh.
and that's why she was with us.
Mrs. Miller was setting the table for lunch when she collapsed.
Yeah.
She did not regain consciousness and died a few moments later.
Yeah.
Oh. She'd been here. Mrs. Miller, whose home was in Grinnell, had been here at the McMurray home for the past 2 weeks. She was taken sick in Grinnell about 6 weeks ago, and for 4 weeks was in a Grinnell hospital suffering with flu and high blood pressure. 2 weeks ago, she was sufficiently recovered to come here. She's survived by her husband, C.A. Miller, 2 daughters, Mrs. Murray McMurray and Miss Helen Miller of Baltimore. Oh, she wasn't married yet.
She wasn't married yet.
Okay. John, Nancy, Barbara, Mary, and Charles McMurray. Mr. Miller and Miss Miller will arrive here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Burial will probably be in Graceland Cemetery. She had many friends in Webster City. She was a member of the Congregational Church. So he died in 36, 3 years later.
Yeah, yeah.
So he outlived her.
And he lived with us at that time.
Charles A. Miller, 79, former newspaper publisher and for many years district agent for the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, died at the home of a daughter, Mrs. Murray McMurray, here Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Miller formerly published the Grinnell, Iowa Register, and prior to that owned a weekly at Newman Grove, Nebraska. He was graduated from Yale University in 1879. There you go.
This was the women's basketball. That was Mother was on the girls' basketball team at Grinnell, and that picture was hanging in the barber shop. And we pointed out our mother in the girls' basketball team from college.
That's funny. Third from top. You can hardly make her out in this copy of a copy.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there's the Newman Grove.
Oh, this is the high school. She's the only one without her hair all puffed up. Yeah. She was younger than the rest of them. Yeah.
She's easily the prettiest one, huh?
She what?
She's the prettiest one.
Well, I don't know about
There's
that.
a handsome young man next to her.
She was kind of bug-eyed in a way.
But I think that's attractive.
Yeah.
I know what you're
But her eyes were
referring to.
prominent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pointing out, David.
Right here. You can see with the flat hair, as Aunt Barbara's mentioning. Everybody else has really bouffanty hair. This one, good grief. Look at that hair.
Well, that was the style,
That's quite a...
But mother was never on the front part of style.
And there's the home in
That was the home in Newman Grove.
No trees. Big house out in the middle of nowhere.
That big house,
Hard to see in this picture. We'll get another one.
And there let's see. Oh, and there.
It says Helen and Margaret.
That was
McMurray.
in Newman Grove, in Nebraska anyway, and that was the house in Iowa.
So,
and that was
your mother was older than Aunt Helen.
yes, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I've forgotten just how much.
So here's grandmother, and here's Aunt Helen.
And one thing about this house, now your folks had the other half of that house, and in Charlie's write-up of those family remembrances, he calls it 72 Heck Avenue. That's New Jersey address. This was High Street,
I see.
and I made that correction on his text, but he called it the wrong thing.
So
But it
that's
was
the
High
Grinnell
Street.
house that my mom and dad lived in.
Yeah, they
and
lived
there he is in his printing shop.
Yeah.
And then this is a Charles Miller at his 55th Yale
Oh, this
reunion.
Yale reunion.
You can't really make him out in there. Second from left. We'll have to take their word for it. Oh, here's the Yale crowd.
Yeah. Oh, those are his brothers.
Right.
Those are his,
The Miller family, brothers Elijah,
Justice and Elliot.
all Yale graduates.
And that was her sister.
Miller family. Williston, Vermont.
Uh-huh.
Sister Lucy. And this is Charles Miller. Charles Miller is your grandfather.
That was their father, I think.
Oh. Oh, so is one of these
Oh,
your
wait a minute.
grandfather?
No, evidently that must have his
That must be the
graduation picture. And that
grandfather.
was his sister Lucy.
Yes.
So
These are his
that-
three brothers.
Yes, that's my grandfather.
Okay. So that's my great-grandfather, my grandmother's father, Aunt Barbara's grandfather on her mother's side, his sister, three brothers, Elijah, Eustace, and Elliot. Eustace or Justice, do you think?
Eustace.
Eustace
Uh-huh.
and Elliot. Gracious. Those sideburns are off-putting, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Come right down around the ear.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. And
Oh, here he is again as an old man.
that's mother's.
Oh.
His parents.
Okay,
I
okay.
think.
So
Isn't that
here,
what it says?
here are Aunt Barbara's grandmother and grandfather and their parents. So your great-grandmother and grandfather.
Are they Millers? Yes.
Yeah.
Emily Clark married
Charles
married
E. Miller. Oh, that's Charles E. Miller, your great-grandfather, and Charles A. Miller is your grandfather.
I just never
They shared the names.
connected with that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Those pictures look like they've been cut out of something.
Well, they were. I'm sure they were. Yeah. Well, this is the L.A. McMurray home
After the additions and things.
after the additions. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a iconic picture.
Oh, yeah.
Family. It's hard to see, isn't it? We'll find a better one.
Yeah. And this is McMurray clan in America.
Okay,
Going
but
back-
your grandmother is
Sarah Jessie
setting
Dunham
these up.
McMurray, yeah. Robert Bruce McMurray, around 1770. Yeah.
And do you find, was this an important document in your family, or were those
I think
ties?
Charlie-
Did those ties
I
matter?
think Charlie figured that out. I think, although that,
And that's her handwriting.
Yeah.
She's the one who did it. This is Dad's typing up here, I think, to explain what this is. The McMurray clan in
Yeah.
America, that may be hers, but this Sarah Jessie Dunham McMurray is who put it together, right?
okay,
And so there's Robert Bruce.
yeah, and
And
yeah,
then it goes
grandmother
down to
must have done this, and she, Mary did not have that as a Mary. She wasn't Mary Dunham. She didn't have a middle name. Grandmother thought it was important, so she called her. She provided the name Mary Dunham.
I see.
But I don't really think that it was.
She just overrode your mother, and
What, it wasn't a question of, she just did it. Yeah, it wasn't a question of overriding. Just there was never any.
okay.
She just wanted to be done. And I don't know if I think Mary used that in maybe when she was a professional,
Mary Dunham.
but she wasn't officially baptized Mary Dunham.
It's not on the birth certificate.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
That's funny. And also, this spelling is
Yes, she was very sure that it should be, and my father would have none of that.
should be M.A.C.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, your father would have none of that.
No, it was MC. That's right. Yeah.
Because, Uncle John, your brother John, in the years I knew him, he always called himself McMurray.
That was what we pronounced it. Yeah,
Oh,
McMurray.
okay.
Not McMurray. McMurray.
McMurray.
McMurray.
Oh, I figured he'd reverted to an older spelling, but that's the way you said it too,
That
as
was-
if it was spelled
I think.
M.A.C.
Anyway, we did it so fast. I never thought about McMurray.
McMurray.
Well, whatever. Anyway, that's where it started. It was grandmother that provided that, and Daddy didn't. He wouldn't use it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it went Robert Bruce McMurray, David McMurray, John G.
John
McMurray,
G. and Leslie Arnold.
McMurray,
And
Murray
Murray.
McMurray.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Murray McMurray didn't have a middle name?
No. He wasn't named until he was almost 5 years old, and it's impossible to believe. He was called Brother. Can you imagine that? And I don't know. He himself. We were all named well before we were born, because he couldn't imagine his mother doing that. And of course, she ruled the house.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I can't imagine is spending 5 years thinking up a name and then coming up with McMurray. That seems
They just didn't think of
rather
a name. They just weren't bothered with it right then. They
One of
just
the
called him brother.
early
And,
ones you would jump for.
And I've forgotten. In my mind, I keep thinking, well, not Murray it would sound right.
Why didn't she give him a nickname or middle name if she gave Mary a fake middle name?
I think it was doing well that she gave him a name and that he got a name, and that they weren't in.
We're exhausted after one name.
I really don't know. I really don't know that.
That's funny. This is a McMurray clan in America, but I don't think you can see it on the camera. That's another one we've seen. We've seen those. I think these are all done.
Yeah.
That was a good old group. Boy, we just might make it here.
Now there's
hatchery things.
hatchery and scouts.
Oh, let's do this pile. This is an older pile. In spite of these pictures on top.
Oh, these are. I didn't know how to organize these.
It's all right.
Script for the. Well, that's for the brush factory. That was the script for it. And then this was something blackmail attempt of my grandfather in Iowa.
You don't remember anything about
No,
that?
that was
before you were born.
I don't have any idea about that. Yeah.
Yes, he was blackmailed. It doesn't say why. Or maybe it does say why. I'll have to read it. A letter. Well, here was. Hang on. So November 18th, though the year is not marked. I can't tell what the year is. It says, Honorable L.A. McMurray, President of the Hamilton County State Bank in the city and one of the town's most prominent businessmen, has been made the victim of a most serious blackmailing attempt. The plan failed, but as the police have no evidence, there's grave danger of further developments. A letter mailed to Mr. McMurray threatened his life unless he placed a package containing $3,000 in currency on the piling approach to the Northwestern Bridge in the northwest part of the city. The letter contained full directions as to how, where, and when the money should be placed. The time set was 7 o'clock in the evening. Upon receipt of the letter, Mr. McMurray conferred with his friends and upon their advice notified the police. The plan was entered into whereby it was hoped to apprehend the blackmailers. A dummy package was fixed up, and Mr. McMurray left his home with it at the time designated in the letter. Constable Falloon, dressed similarly to Mr. McMurray, passed the letter and, taking the package, made his way to the place designated by the blackmailers. The spot is a lonely one, away from the residence district and never frequented at night. A number of other police officers were secreted in various places about the bridge. A close watch was kept for several hours, but no one appeared to take the package. Finally, the officers gave up the prospect of anyone appearing and returned to their homes. The dummy package, however, was left in the place designated. Constable Falloon, upon visiting the spot in the morning, found to his surprise that the package had been taken. Ooh.
I guess I hadn't read that whole article.
The snow disclosed the tracks of a woman under the bridge. Following the tracks, he came upon the imprint of a man's shoe, the man probably having accompanied the woman. The handwriting of the threatening letter sent to Mr. McMurray is a woman's. Which fits in well with the link of evidence in the woman's tracks. The tracks were followed by the officer, and they led him to a home where reside a woman and a man. The officers are confident they have the parties under surveillance, but no arrests as yet have been made. Further developments are expected, however, in a day or two.
I hadn't read the whole thing.
So they left tracks in the snow leading back to their house. Okay.
Oh, dear. Well, let's see. This is
marriage certificate.
Marriage certificates and so on.
Of Leslie and S. Jesse Dunham McMurray.
Jesse Dunham. Lansingburg. Yeah. September 5th. Yeah.
1876. Were they married the year they came out?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, 1876.
Yeah.
The marriage.
Right.
The silken knot was deftly tied by Reverend W.H. Hughes.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Assisted by another reverend.
The florid language is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. And they always talk about